Bro.
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 Bro. Daniel Bryan is the 9/11 of WrestleMania 30. It's a joke, right? But out of context, that shit sounds terrible.
Heel Nakamura is best for business. The Nutcracker Prince, or whatever you want to call him. I'm all
great.
I'm all about
That's
it.
a t-shirt. Well, he was right about this. Well, of course he was, man. He also predicted 3 other things to happen with that same prediction. Like,
Bro.
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 Say hello to the bald guy.
And bow down to your king.
And welcome to another episode of Drive-By with Shooter. I want to start this week, Mike. First of all, as always, it's Mike Shooter Marcus, King of Nerds, Mike Forrest, taking you on this little ride, taking you through this week in pro wrestling, mostly WWE, let's be honest. I want to clarify...
Like 100%.
100%. I want to clarify by going over the mistake I made last week. I don't let myself slide. I don't expect anyone to let me slide. I tried to give you fine folks another Val Venus reference and failed miserably. What I said was, let's pretend my right leg is Christmas, my left leg is New Year's, and we'll, what did I say? We'll meet at the holiday?
Yeah.
But what I was supposed to say was, we'll meet between the holidays.
Yeah, you did that right at the beginning of the show, too.
I really
Every
screwed the
viewer
pooch
just immediately
right off the
turned
bat.
it off right away.
Yeah, probably.
Like,
and it is what
bullshit.
it is.
What if
So
that was
here
a
it
first
is.
time viewer and they were like, this bullshit. This dude can't even get a simple Val Venus joke right.
Listen,
Kinda.
if you can't appreciate...
Dog and pony show are these two ass clowns running.
If you can't appreciate an attempt at a Val Venus joke, then you just won't appreciate our humor.
Nah, because our humor at best is an attempt at a Val Venus joke.
It surely is. It surely is. So, again, and everyone listening, I apologize. I am dealing with allergies. They decided to show up and kick my ass like they're Braun Strowman, and they're giving me these hands. So, deal with it. It is what it is. This week, we got a lot of stuff to go over. I was writing the show. I thought, man, I don't know if there's a lot of stuff going on. And as I started to write it, I was like, man, there's way too much stuff going on. We're kind of in this weird lull, kind of a down period after the Mania, all the Mania craziness into the Superstar shakeup and going into Backlash. But we have this greatest Royal Rumble ever that, when you probably listen to this, will already have happened. But that being said, as we record, it has not happened yet. So I think we're just going to go over some Raw stuff, some SmackDown stuff, and then of course hit our favorite segment at the end of the show. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, that all works for me. The usual rundown works for me. It's called a schedule for a reason, people.
Exactly. All right, so let's do this, Mike. Monday Night Raw, first thing, right off the bat. Roman Reigns crowd plants. I saw this all over the internet, even within our MVP chat. And I'm going to be honest with you, man, I didn't even notice it. Now, I only watched once. I didn't look for more. I didn't look for it. I kept my eye on it, but I didn't, make it a point, because, of course, I watched after the fact. But you said it was pretty obvious?
I, personally, when I was watching this, you could hear their chick. It's weird to me that they were right behind the announce team. And you could hear them. I'm not sure if Heyman was in on it. But it seemed pretty obvious to me. I remember, it wasn't a big deal even. They flashed to the people and I was like, oh, those are plants. Oh, yeah. And then I kind of just went on with my life. It's not, you know how I look at these things. I get doing things for production value. It was obvious to me because they flashed to him. They don't ever show people chanting Roman. What made it obvious for me, they don't ever show anybody chanting anything. You know what I mean? Never did they flash to the Cesaro section and zoom in on the 6 people chanting for Antonio Cesaro. Yeah, that's right. There's a deep cut.
Although they have,
remember he had a first
shown
name.
the crowd signs.
They do, but they don't. They don't show unless a fan's making some kind of Undertaker guy, some kind of reaction. They don't just show you chant for someone. Unless they're doing crowd shots, right? And then it's an extended crowd shot. They don't show 4 to 6 people chanting for one guy. It just seemed too obvious to me.
I think that's fair, and I don't think it's out of the question for WWE to do this. I don't blame them if they're trying to do this.
It's a TV show. Do this.
Right. Build your environment the way you want it. That being said, is this like a last-ditch effort by WWE to tell the crowd, hey, this is the guy we want you to cheer?
I don't know if it's a last-ditch effort, because I could easily see them continuing this for this dude's career. Doesn't it seem like at this point that this dude's career has
just going to go this way?
Has been WWE going, hey, this is the guy, and everyone going, no, man, but he's not. He's not. He's a guy, but he's not the guy. And that's the thing. If he was not pushed so heavily, would people give a shit? I feel like...
No, they wouldn't.
No, they wouldn't. They'd be like, he's a very serviceable Bobby Lashley-esque lower mid-card or top guy. And they'd be A-okay with him. He'd probably have a shit ton of fans, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They'd be like, man, why can't he just get the title? They have people begging for the title. But it seems like his career trajectory at this point is them going, hey, this is the guy, and fans pushing against that. So no, I don't put it past them at all. Is it the last-ditch effort? I don't know, man. But is it an effort? Definitely. They should take it for what it is, which is we have to plant people in the audience
to get cheers for this guy.
To get cheers for this guy.
Visible cheers for this guy.
Visible cheers for this guy. Maybe this isn't
we're doing something wrong.
What we thought.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And I mean, we've both said it here. Neither one of us are Roman haters. While neither one of us are huge, fanboys of him, I'm good with him. I'm good with him being a champ. I'm good with the push they're giving him. I don't think it's something he's undeserved of. He's definitely got the look. He could improve his moveset, but I think that's partly on them. That being said, I don't have a problem with him being the WWE champion, the Universal champion, on the top of the card. It makes sense to me. But maybe they need to... it's not out of the question that these were actual Roman Reigns fans. I'm sure the man has a lot of fans. He's a merch seller, okay? He's one of the top guys. So people who will sit there and say this guy's just awful and they need to get rid of him don't know their ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to what's making money. But this brings me to my next question. Does Roman win the Universal title in Saudi Arabia?
Man... If Thanos can kill Iron Man, then sure.
I hate you. I hate you.
Then sure, Roman can win the title in Saudi Arabia. For the record, folks, I saw Infinity War at the Thursday night showing, and I'm going to give all kinds of spoilers during this show, so you better sit in for it. They're mostly going to be fake. It's going to be 98% fake spoilers and 2% real stuff sprinkled in.
But you're not going to know.
But you're not going to know. So there's not going to be any, you can't get mad. Was that one true?
They can get
Was
mad.
that one true? I don't know, man. Maybe he rips his arm off with the armor still on.
Oh, jeez, was that true? Who knows?
Boy, jeez, was that too specific? That was awfully specific for something made up, wasn't it?
It was very specific, but you're
that's
also
what
you're a very creative man, so I wouldn't put any of
storyteller.
it past you, sir.
Good
I wouldn't put any of it past you.
Let's talk about wrestling.
So Roman Reigns, he does have this match at Backlash with Samoa Joe. So I think a lot of this comes into question. Man, I don't know. So do you think we do crown Roman in Saudi, or do you think? Because I know last week we talked. You said Brock wins. Are you sticking with that? Because I'm going with Brock wins as well. I don't think it's time, man.
Yeah, I'm sticking
I think
with
this
it too.
proves it.
We're gonna get into some things in the very next segment that we talk about that's going to have some play into this. So, yeah, I think Brock wins. I've got reasons for that outside of Roman in this match. So, yeah, I'm sticking with prediction from last week. I think Brock wins. I don't think we see a lot of shocking wins in the Royal Rumble. I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is you paid us $20 million, so we're going to come give you a hell of a $20 million show. But ain't shit gonna happen. We're not gonna screw up our timeline for some Saudi oil money.
Well, there is some talk that there are possibly going to be multiple title changes because they want this show to look good. And I don't really have that on the rundown. If we got time, we'll talk about it. If not, it's no big deal. Because, like I said, by the time this comes out, it's probably already going to be happening or over. So, we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. But, if you're an MVP, you can do our pick'em. And I can't stress that anymore. Be an MVP. It's fun. We talk wrestling with you guys every day. It's kind of ridiculous.
An MVP. P. B. An MVP.
P. See, we can market that. You think we're going to get a cease and desist?
That's a t-shirt.
It is a t-shirt.
That is a t-shirt.
So let's move on.
By the way, I'd love to get a cease and desist. Would you not? Would you not love to get
fantastic.
Dude, I would have it framed. Oh, it'd be
Put it on the wall behind us for when we record. Oh, yeah. So let's move on. The monster among men, Braun Strowman, the most over talent on the roster, hands down. There's no arguing. It is what it is. He gets an amazing pop no matter where they are. Probably loudest crowd reaction of the night when his music just starts. He looked absolutely unbelievable tagging with Bobby Lashley. He destroyed Kevin Owens like 3 times. I thought he literally killed him. They actually make a good team. Not that I want that for him, but if they're in a holding pattern with him, I don't think it's a bad spot. But my question to you is, what in the hell are they waiting for?
I honestly, I've got right here in my notes. What are we waiting for with with Braun? And I wrote, we are waiting for SummerSlam and Brock Lesnar.
Okay. So this plays into earlier, Roman's not going to win.
No. This was my plan into round. I think the ultimate plan here is to put Braun over. I think that Vince
is starting to see it.
There's a Venn diagram, right? There's like a diagram that exists. And in one circle is what Vince likes. And in that circle is big, giant guys, right?
Right.
And then there's another circle. And in that circle exists what fans like. And in that circle generally are things like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. But occasionally there's this big giant like badass dude that fans like. And right now that Venn diagram is overlapping just perfectly with those two circles. Braun Strowman is the perfect combination of what Vince wants and what the fans want. It's the first time in a long time that I can remember where Vince has been like, oh, what about this guy? And fans have been like, what about CM Punk? And then Vince was like, what about this guy? And fans were like, I don't know, what about Daniel Bryan? And Vince was like, what about this guy? And the fans were like, what about Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe? And so finally there's a guy, I think, that fits all Vince's criteria. He's a big, scary sumbitch. He's muscle bound, entertaining, and he's fitting the fans' criteria. And I think that this is just the perfect best of both worlds scenario we've had since Stone Cold Steve Austin. Where it's like Vince sees it, the fans see it, we're all together in this. Well, it's maybe since Cena won his first title. We were all pretty on board for that, right?
Yeah,
everyone.
I would say, yes.
And that was pretty much the last time that like a Vince guy and the fans were also on board. And I would like to see that finally again. Man, it's nice when we all get along.
It really is. It really is. So, I mean, you already answered the next question I had was, does Braun dethrone the Beast? You say SummerSlam. I like
I
that
also
idea.
have in my notes possibly Mania. But man,
Which would be a long run.
Don't want to
Brock,
have to draw that out again.
Yeah, we already had a year of that. Now, what I want to actually put into perspective, and I'm glad you brought him up, is CM Punk. I think it's till Money in the Bank. If Brock Lesnar holds the Universal Championship till Money in the Bank, he will break CM Punk's record. Which is another reason I now think it's got to be Brock winning in Saudi Arabia and holding his title through June.
We've already done away with his dumbass wife's title reign being the longest. Now we're already here. Might as well take it away from him. This is a petty company. Let's not forget, this is a petty company. Like, Vince McMahon is a petty human being, and his family is full of petty human beings. I know you're about to say, but you know what? He won't be petty given the opportunity. Given the opportunity to, make money or make up for something, he won't be petty. Yeah. He won't be petty.
No.
But until that opportunity comes, he's the pettiest dude this is the pettiest family ever. And I could see this being yeah, okay, we're here. You might as well just do it. Pull the trigger on it, man.
Well, what I was actually going to say is, and this will probably piss a lot of people off, but it's honestly how I feel.
I hope it does.
You know what? If it was my company, I'd break CM Punk's damn record too. Because he walked away. He left the fans behind, the company behind. He left all of us in limbo. My personal opinion, he took AJ Lee away from all of us. Fuck him. Let Brock Lesnar break it. Because you know who's still here? Even though he might only be here 4 or 5 times a year, Brock Lesnar's still here.
He's still here 4 or 5 times a year, isn't he? Still 4 or 5 more times than CM Punk's been.
Brock Lesnar flew to Saudi Arabia, maybe on a private jet, but Brock Lesnar still flew to Saudi Arabia.
Why is everyone up in arms about that? Why is everyone so upset that he doesn't travel with the boys? He's not one of the boys.
Right.
He's not. Arguably
he's
never,
not one of the boys.
Never been one of the boys. Even when he was one of the boys, he was notoriously not one of the boys.
Exactly. So, we'll touch a little bit on that later. But, I mean, he's here. Punk's not. Punk, as far as I don't ever see Punk coming back unless it's for a Hall of Fame bid that they both bury the bitter axe, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Homeboy's broke is when that happens. Broke.
Yeah, and supposedly he was really good with his money, and for some reason Dana White keeps paying him to get his ass beat in a UFC octagon, so he'll have money for a little while at least.
I would take a huge payday to get beat up. I've been beat up for free.
Might as well get paid for it, right?
Yeah, I would, I'm very good at getting beat up. Not good at fighting. Very good at getting beat up, though. I am a champ at it, so I would take that payday all day long.
We all have our talents, Mike.
If it's your dream to get beat up in a UFC ring, how about it, bro? How about it?
Take the payday. So, we'll finish up our Raw talk, and I know we're not hitting everything. There's just too much to hit everything for each brand, but I want to talk about the women of Monday Night Raw. This week, they main evented in a 10-woman tag, which in my opinion is leading to multiple storylines. We still have the friction with Bayley and Sasha. Nia and Alexa Bliss will continue their feud at Backlash. I also want to point this out. Did you catch the Moment of Bliss segment that was on Raw, featured on Raw?
I did.
How great is Alexa Bliss at being a bully who is now making Nia a bully for bullying the bully?
She's killing it right now, man. She's really carrying this feud. Verbally.
Yeah, I mean, she is. She has to. I mean, we've sat here and talked about how she's probably the best female on the mic, if not one of the best on the mic in the company. People will argue that point, but I don't think it's a point to argue. She's just phenomenal on the mic. Is she Charlotte Flair in the ring? No, but who is? But she's not bad. She's definitely one of the top female currently on the roster. I'd put her there with Sasha and Bayley over anytime. But on the mic, she's head and shoulders over everybody on the women's roster, even Charlotte, who does a really good promo as well. And Nia, I like Nia, I do. But Mike-wise, she's not hanging with Alexa Bliss. So let's let Bliss carry this, and we'll just go from there. Riot Squad also, I mean, they're like verse everyone I have written in my notes because they're good heaters. They're good at getting heat. They're good at attacking the fan favorite. Looking like a true faction and doing the damage. And we got this Natty, Mickey, and Rousey thing. I also find it funny that people were complaining, you know, if you look online, oh, I thought Rousey was full-time and she's not even wrestling on Raw. Rousey should not be wrestling on Raw right now. That's not where she is in her career. I don't know that Rousey should ever, like, weekly wrestle on Raw. I don't think that's a good spot for her. She doesn't have to be in the ring every week, but if she's there, I'm okay with that. She is, again, one of those talents that you shouldn't see wrestle every single week. You don't see Brock Lesnar wrestle every single week, and I know he's not there every week, but Ronda's there, but she doesn't need to be in the ring every week.
As long as she's on the show, right?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't see every talent in the ring every week and no one complains, but because, well, Rousey's supposed to be a full-timer, she needs to wrestle every week. I don't agree with that.
I don't either 100%, but with that said, she is going to need to wrestle on Raw.
And she will. Come on, you don't think they're going to take advantage of that and be like Rousey's first match on Monday Night Raw, and it's going to be like...
probably needs to happen soon, though. Because
yeah, and I think that's what they're building to.
There are people that haven't seen WrestleMania, right? There's people that watch wrestling but don't pay $9.99 a month, right?
Because they're dumb.
Because they're dumb.
Or they have bills to pay to can't afford.
Yeah,
that's the only
excuse.
excuse.
Like, you know, life.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what kind of life you're leading, but so I get it. There are people that want to see it. That are like, you know, I still haven't seen her and I'm waiting on Raw. But I do also agree with you that she's more of a spectacle. And yes, she's full-time, but as long as she's there, she's more of a presence. There's certain people who just have to have a presence. Taker hardly ever wrestled. I mean, like, I guess he did wrestle a lot on Raw. But, like, there was a period where his presence alone was enough. That's all you needed. You only need Brock Lesnar. If Brock Lesnar was full-time, he would hardly wrestle ever. His presence is enough. And there's just people whose presence is enough. And she's one of them.
Yep, I would agree. All that being said, the women of Raw seem to be in a good spot. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I feel like we're finally getting multiple feuds set up, multiple angles. Yes, we did a 10-woman tag, but we got everyone involved, and I think we're using it to just continue different storylines, splintering off in different directions, which they haven't done for a while. I had said they were in a holding pattern with the Women's Royal Rumble the last time people were complaining about this. I think this is good. I think they're all going in the right direction, at least on the Raw side for the women. I
agree 100%. I think they got a deeper roster post-shakeup. And granted, they only really gained, like, one body in that.
Well, I was thinking about that too. If you really look at it,
two.
You know, on Raw you got Rousey, which I mean isn't post shakeup, but she's there. You got Ember Moon added to the mix, and then on the SmackDown side you pull the Iconic Duo and Asuka over to there, and all of a sudden this roster on both brands just got way deeper.
It allows for way more storylines to be opened up like this. They have a huge opportunity now. They used to not have this, and also you've got. There used to be a pretty clear divide in the women's division, both divisions. You got people that are going to win the title or can be winners of the title, and then everyone else, right? And you've got your title winners. You've got your Baileys, your Sashas, your Nias, your Alexas, and then you had, you know, your absolutions. Like, come on, no one believes any of those. None of disrespect. They could win titles down the line, but not right now.
Not right now.
You've got your Alicia Fox, your Mickey James. Mickey ain't winning another title ever. Now you've almost added a mid-card.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? With Ember Moon and Natty. You've got this weird, like, I would also throw Ruby Riott in there. You've got this weird mid-card now. that didn't exist before in the women's division, and I like that a lot because you're going to have the opportunity for. There would have been a mid-card prior, but Ruby Riott has to take losses, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Now
yeah,
Ruby Riott
absolutely.
doesn't have to take losses. This is what we talked about last week about the shake-up with the men's division on Raw. You've got a mid-card now, and these mid-card guys don't have to take losses. You've got a mid-card now. And Ember Moon, whereas she would have been taking losses to Bayley and Sasha, doesn't have to now. They've got bodies. And that's what a lot of people don't understand about this. A lot of people look at this division top to bottom and they're like, there's a lot of... It's top-end heavy and it's bottom-end heavy. And a lot of people look at something that's bottom-end heavy and they say, oh, the roster's kind of filled with people that you can't take serious. But you got to understand that those people make the show. You need bodies. Yeah. You need more bodies that can take pinfalls. And that's what they've got now.
Yep, I would agree. And, I mean, look at Natty coming over from SmackDown, going to Raw, apparently turning face right off the bat, and now being in a storyline with Ronda Rousey, which I'm sure is eventually going to lead to a match between the two of them, which I think is a perfect spot for Rousey, to be quite honest. Working with Mickey and Natty, who better on this current roster as a veteran right now could she work with?
I almost feel like that's the reason Natty got moved to Raw.
Yeah, I do too.
She's
I do too.
The perfect person. She's exactly like when they put Goldberg in there against Hugh Moore's first match.
Yep.
Great. This is brilliant. First person to work a solid feud with, Mickey and Natty. That's her first storyline. Two all-timers, Hall of Famers for sure. Surefire Hall of Famers for the women's division. And they're going to walk her through this. They're going to ring general the shit out of her. She's going to get... This is the perfect scenario because she's going to be the ultimate star, but she's going to have two people that are just going to handhold her, training wheel the shit out of her. That's what this is. They put a training wheel on either side and we're like, let's roll.
Yep, solid scenario. Good decision by the company. Mike, let's take a quick break and come back, and we're going to look at the Blue brand, look at the SmackDown side of things. Hang tight, everybody. We will be right back. Welcome back, everyone. And now we are going to roll into the SmackDown Live side of things for you guys. First thing I want to talk about with you guys is AJ Nakamura.
What just happened?
When it comes to AJ and Nakamura, I think it might be possibly the best feud going in the company. It was a really good way to kind of get SmackDown going. Nakamura's heel turn. I love that. I love the way that is going. I love the fact that the club went from Raw to SmackDown and just jumped right into it with AJ Styles. And AJ's being a great underdog champion, even though he's already beat Nakamura. And Nakamura, as a heel, is quite frankly best for business. What are you thinking about all this, Mike?
Nakamura as a heel. Oh, there's so much to talk about what you just said, okay?
Yeah, there is. I laid a lot out there on the line for you, Mike.
You really did put a lot out there. So, let me see on my notes here. The first thing I've got down is AJ Nakamura. Let's talk about that right away. This feud is outstanding. And like we said earlier at the top of the show, we're in a bit of a slow time right now.
Right.
I think that this is just going to be a yearly thing now.
Yeah, it seems that way.
We're going to have a bad 2 weeks. Not even a bad 2 weeks, just because it's interesting. A lot's happened. It's just slow, right?
It's a holding pattern.
It's a holding pattern, and we're killing off some feuds, right? We got some things we've got to kill off. And it's going to make... A yearly Backlash is going to be the most disposable pay-per-view every year. It was last year, and it's going to be this year. And if this is what we're doing from now on, this is going to be what it is. So AJ and Nakamura would be a standout feud at any time of the year. What they're doing right now would be... I just thought of something else I'm going to add in. It would be a standout feud at any time of the year. But especially right now, when there is shit else going on in the company, it's especially standing out, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And then
also, real fast, let me just add.
Yeah, go ahead.
This story is the story they should have fucking told building up to WrestleMania. This shouldn't be the story we got for AJ Nakamura post-Mania. This should have been the story building up to Mania.
I can't disagree with that. That's a pretty solid point.
You knew you were going to do this.
And you left it.
And you didn't do it for Mania?
But let me play devil's advocate here. Because we were building this Mania match, even though we didn't say New Japan Pro Wrestling and Wrestle Kingdom, we were building it as a dream rematch from that event. So maybe they wanted to just leave it at that with no bad blood, no feud, just a dream match between these two workers who have been around the world doing what they do better than anybody else in the business. We don't need that. They had a wrestling match. It was not a sports entertainment match at WrestleMania. They literally gave wrestling marks what they probably wanted, and then the wrestling marks, majority of them complained about it. So, there's that. There's also that. And
well,
now we are getting the real meat of the story. And we are really going where we need to go with both of these individuals. As I stated already, Heel Nakamura is best for business. The Nutcracker Prince, or whatever you want to call him.
Great.
I'm all about it.
That's a t-shirt.
It is a t-shirt. Nutcracker Prince with Nakamura's face on it.
That smile, though. That, smile he does with the mouthpiece in. Nutcracker Prince.
And the over-exaggerated, motion when hitting AJ in said testicles. Fantastic. But yeah, they're going in all the right places with this, firing on all cylinders. How you feel about the new Nakamura theme, Mike?
Man, I love it.
I did too. It caught me off guard.
As you know, I watch everything later on in the week.
As do I.
I literally didn't watch SmackDown until right before we recorded this. I got up at 5:30.
Do I hear a train?
Yeah, there's a train. There's a train driving. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of trains in this town. It's weird, man. When I first moved here, I would hear trains all the time, and I'd be like, "What is that noise?" My wife would be like, "Oh, that's a train." I'd be like, "We live in the middle of town. How is there a train?" There's a train that goes right through the middle of the town I live in. Right through the middle of the town I live in, about 7 times a day.
That's amazing.
I didn't even know trains were still a valid form of
they are, you just don't see them
shipping or industrial transportation, but apparently in the town
oil
I
and
live
gas,
in,
my brother, oil and gas.
the coal industry still, which is apparently also still a major industry, even though you don't hear anything about it. Anyway,
Nakamura theme.
It really caught me off guard. Because, I watch things later. No, I didn't catch him off guard. I'm sorry. I got my head. We got off on the train. I'm all mixed up. So, I had saw someone had posted about it. The initial post I saw, I was like, oh, that's caught me off guard that I saw it. That he changed. But it made a lot of sense to me because that damn theme was way too over, man. Way too over. And what they did was they took the essential element that everyone liked about it, which is that violin riff, and they
covered it up.
Covered it up with some what's insane is that I would call this music in real life shit rock.
Right.
It's the type of music I fucking hate in the real world. It's just that cheap garbage rock 3 Days Grace and Shine Down. And things like that I just generally just despise. But as wrestling music, man, that shit's awesome, isn't it? Seth Rollins.
It really is.
If there was a band that played Seth Rollins music and they were on the radio, I'd be like, this band fucking sucks. But as Seth Rollins music, I'm like, shit, yeah. Same with Dean Ambrose.
Burn that shit down.
Same with Dean Ambrose. If Dean Ambrose music came on the radio, I'd be like, this is terrible. Terrible. But as a theme song, it's pretty decent. Speaking of wrestling theme songs and bands that play them, I'm going to see Our Lady Peace in July, and I want to take a sign that says "Play Benoit's theme."
Oh, please do it.
I'm at least gonna make a shirt. I desperately want to get a shirt made that says "Play Benoit's theme." But I want to take a huge sign and hold it up in the crowd that says "Play Benoit's theme."
You have to be that guy for everybody that's not going to be that guy.
I'm a pretty big Our Lady Peace fan, and I'm also a pretty big Chris Benoit fan, and that is realistically one of their top 10 best songs.
It's definitely solid, man. That's not even
very much like to hear it. I just like the song. I liked it before it was Benoit's music, even. So
it's pretty interesting. I can't wait to find out if they actually play it or not. So
they don't. I read in an interview one time with the guy. They asked him about it, and he said they don't play it or anything now. They don't like to have anything to do with it. So I'm taking it to be a troll. I'm taking the sign to be a troll.
Troll away, my friend. Troll away. So I guess this brings to the final question of this part, because we're all on board with what's going on with AJ and Shinsuke. Does Shinsuke Nakamura take this title in Saudi Arabia, Mike?
Are they having a match at Backlash?
I don't know. I don't know.
This could be the one title I see that really changes hands here. But like you said, there is that report going around that a lot of titles are changing hands, just to prove a point, you know? But I think it would be good for the company if Nakamura won it. AJ's beat all the... I mean, we did just get a new influx of talent, but it would be best if we got a heel champion in there so we could throw some face contenders at him for a while. We've had it'll get old with AJ taking on that same run of heel challengers, and obviously we've got Miz and Daniel Bryan are new people that are obviously going to be title contender scenes. We don't know what's going on with Big Cass. I personally think he's going to take that Baron Corbin role of I'm the big guy that beats people up, but I'm not actually going to win anything here.
Yeah.
But I think it would be healthier for a while if we could throw some face at the title. And this is Daniel Bryan's winning this title before the end of the year, right?
I would think so.
That's also, I think, an issue we're gonna run into.
Or at WrestleMania, which makes even more sense.
Fact.
Which would be after the year, but you know.
I think I don't know. What Daniel Bryan, again, like I've said before, changes everything.
He does.
Daniel Bryan also is interesting that you might want to keep him in this thing with Cass for a while, because Daniel Bryan, in the best way possible, if you give him an inch, takes a mile.
Yes. As he should.
As he should. And it's not that he takes it, it's just that it just kind of happens.
It kind of comes to him.
It kind of comes to
him.
it. Is. Yes. If you give Daniel Bryan an inch, the fans make it a mile. So you have to be careful what you do there. So if you have a heel champion, people are automatically going to want Daniel Bryan as the face. This is a tricky one, man. I guess I'm going to go with Nakamura wins it, just to open up some new avenues.
I also have Nakamura winning this. Now, here's the magic of Mike being on vacation, us doing this early on Friday, no work involved. I'm sitting in front of a computer with the recording equipment, and guess what? I looked up Backlash, and as of right now, no, there is not a WWE Championship or Universal Championship match scheduled. Right now, the card is Seth Rollins versus Miz for the IC, which is interesting with what's going on in Saudi Arabia. Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe. I got some differences on that.
You think? Go ahead.
Nia versus Bliss for the women's, Carmella versus Charlotte for the women's on SmackDown, and Daniel Bryan, Big Cass. So Backlash right now, 5 matches in, 2 women's titles, 1 men's title on the mid card, and 2, I guess, grudge matches, we'll call it. Actually, without without the tag or the 2 men's main titles, this looks like a pretty solid card already. So maybe this dual-branded pay-per-view thing is going to work out. What do you think?
I mean, that looks like a pretty good card, and we haven't even got to the best stuff yet.
Exactly.
I will say, I think they added those. It's good that they added the women's matches on there, just to be like, hey, look, guys, we know you're mad about this Royal Rumble thing, but look, we're taking care of it. It's right here. We're making sure.
We're gonna get to that in a little bit. I don't have it in the the run sheet, Mike, but I do want to touch on that. Let me see here. We kind of talked on just actually in passing. We kind of picked up on Miz, Big Cass, Daniel Bryan. So let's go ahead and jump to that. We alluded to last week to the Miz and Big Cass possibly teaming up, which was a good way to start the show this week when it came to Daniel Bryan going to be on Miz TV. Big Cass coming out. We find out that Cass actually attacked Daniel Bryan in the back and was the reason he was out there taking Daniel Bryan's place. After all this, I think we can pretty much assume, although Miz and Big Cass may help each other out, I don't think they're actually going to, it's not going to be a bodyguard situation how we might have with McIntyre and Ziggler on Raw, or how we had in the past with Diesel and Shawn. I think it's just going to be they both don't like the same guy, so we'll kind of help each other out. Eventually, of course, I think that's going to not end well for Miz. Two ways, versus Cass and versus Daniel Bryan. The thing I want to throw at you, I think we covered everything, but a lot of fans feel like Daniel Bryan's return is kind of being downplayed. I don't feel that way. I don't know. A lot of people are like, well, he should come out and say something. What more can the guy say? Hey, I was injured, had to retire, and now I'm back. There's not much more to say.
You can't give 2 unretirement speeches.
Exactly. He already gave one. I think, we're using Cass to build even more heat to this Miz feud, which is the money feud and probably a SummerSlam match. So we got to spread that out. We can't have them going at each other right now, so let's throw Big Cass in there, give him something to do. He's going to get a lot of heat by beating the shit out of Daniel Bryan, and then before this Miz thing actually starts for the SummerSlam run, Bryan will get his win over Cass, and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. That's exactly what's going to happen. If you think that Bryan's getting downplayed, he's neck and neck with AJ Styles for being the top face of the show right now.
I think he is. No offense to AJ Styles. He gets the bigger pop.
We have kind of said that, we've been saying for a while now, if Daniel Bryan came back to wrestle, he'd be the most over guy on the roster right now, and he'd be the automatic top guy. He's kind of the, him and AJ are the 2 top guys. They're the top faces of the show. So does he say that it's being downplayed? That's absurd. What they haven't had time to do is build anything with him. The dude was back. Hey, I'm back. WrestleMania's 2 weeks later. Okay.
Boom. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We've got no time to build anything. So all we've got to do with him is bring this Miz thing back, which thank the Lord we're getting some payoff on that.
Yeah, who thought that was ever going to happen?
And we just got to build it, guys. Just quit getting mad about Chapter 1.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get pissed about the book.
No one,
even
for
finish
real,
chapter 1.
I wasn't sitting there at the beginning of Infinity War last night oh, you motherfuckers killed Loki! Why? He's a great character! No, I let it play out, man, until they killed Captain America. That's when I got angry. Good God.
If you're keeping score, every character's now dead, and the movie's over. Okay. Let's move real quick. We'll just blow through this, and then we got to get to our favorite segment at the end of the show, Mike. Where does the bar fit in? Because they've got a Raw Tag Team title match in Saudi Arabia against the Woken Warriors, Bray Wyatt and Woken Matt Hardy. They are on SmackDown, so I figure either they win and they return to Raw, and we didn't even get to benefit from the shakeup of putting the bar over there, or they lose, which is probably the smartest thing, and they stay on the blue brand. Which brand do you think suits them better, and do we want them to stay on SmackDown or go back to Raw?
They're an interesting team in that Raw suits Sheamus better, and SmackDown suits Cesaro better.
Right.
But Sheamus also could work on SmackDown. I think as a team, they probably fall into... Raw probably needs them more, but they fit in better with SmackDown in that goofier tag team division they've got there. SmackDown lets you act a little jokey and goofy, and they've kind of morphed themselves into this like weird, like obscure comedy act a little bit.
Right. A little bit, yeah.
They like to do like weird things that make them laugh, and I don't think anyone else gets it sometimes. And I think they fit in really well on SmackDown with that division, where I guess the guys on that show know more how to like riff on the mic and stuff, which I think Cesaro and Sheamus have gotten good at together. I don't think they were good at separately, but I think together they've become very good at it. They've got a flow with each other. And as we saw with the New Day Tuesday night, that they're able to like engage in a back and forth with someone. So I think SmackDown suits them up just for roster or mic reasons. They're gonna be able to cut loose a little bit more. I think the Raw roster was just a little too stifling as far as that goes. You had guys like the Revival, who are very much like, oh, we're an 80s tag team and we're gonna beat you up and break your leg and put you in holds. And so I think, and then granted you had the Club, but I think the Club's humor is so neutered that they call motherfuckers nerds.
Yeah, SmackDown's like, a good change for those guys.
Is calling people nerds.
I like getting them on SmackDown, not that I like breaking them from Balor, because that just started, but putting them back with AJ, at least in some capacity, letting them get a little bit of a fresh start. I think they're going to be have the potential to be dominant on SmackDown. I hope that's where they go. I'm
curious to see if there's a place in modern WWE for a face faction.
Yeah, it is a curious thing.
I'm curious to see. There used to be a place in WWE for a face faction. I'm curious to see if we still have a place for that now, especially without a real heel faction to go against.
Right. So just to wrap up, overall, Bar stays blue.
Yeah, I think so. I think that they've done a lot of work on the tag team divisions. We've been guaranteed that Ziggler and McIntyre are a tag team now.
Yeah. They're going to be called The Show, I believe.
They've got a name and everything. So they got a name and a finishing move, guys. This shit's happening.
And that finishing move's badass, I might say.
Badass. Okay. I didn't like on Raw where they said either one of those moves would finish a man off. No, dude, we've seen everybody kick out of the zigzag 100 times.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. All that being said, I think we wrapped up Raw and SmackDown pretty good. I know we didn't hit everything, guys, but Jesus, we got a ton of stuff to get to. We still have the end of the show, which is our favorite new segment, Who Said Something Dumb? Hang tight. It was fire last week. Can we match this week? You'll have to tune in, find out. Hang tight, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, and it's time for Who Said Something Dumb?
60% of the time, it works every time.
How's the fucking president on planet bullshit in the galaxy of this sucks camel dick?
Never go for retard.
Oh, Billy Graham ate some fire last week from you, sir. I hope we can match this. We're going to talk about my favorite guy here at the end. Something I want to bring up, a couple of these I did not get to you because they came up to me last minute, or I forgot to put it on the run sheet, and that's my bad. We touched earlier, and we talked about this weeks ago on this very show, about the women not competing in Saudi Arabia. It is what it is. We both kind of said exactly what I'm about to read, but Triple H talked about this And people were still giving the company shit. He said, quote, "I understand that people are questioning it, but you have to understand that every culture is different, and just because you don't agree with a certain aspect of it, it doesn't mean it's not a relevant culture. You can't dictate to a country or a religion about how they handle things. But, having said that, WWE is at the forefront of a woman's evolution in the world, and what we can't do is affect change anywhere from staying away from it." This is definitely not something dumb. This is just points I'm putting out there for people to read. While right now women are not competing in the event, we have had discussions about that, and we believe and hope that in the next few years they will be. That is a significant culture shift in Saudi Arabia. I mean, he's right? He goes on to say this country is in the middle of a shift in how it's dealing with that. He just says, "We think that it's a great thing and we're excited to be at the forefront of that change." I mean...
What do you want him to do, guys? Do you want him to secretly smuggle women in and just out of nowhere have a women's match? Because you know what that gets you in Saudi Arabia?
Beheaded.
Fucking beheaded. That's not a joke.
Right.
If you do shit over there that they don't like, they cut your fucking head off with an axe. That's not shitting around. That's how serious shit is over there. If you do things they don't like, they cut your head off. And they don't make you sit in jail like we do for like 30 years, and then we like electrocute you with a wet sponge and it's all humane and shit. No, sir. You immediately get beheaded. So what do we want? What do we? And then so on the flip side, you don't want them to take $25 million to do a show?
Which, let's also break this down. From everything that I've heard, read, this, that, and the other, this is part of a $200 million deal for like, what, 10 or 20 years, I think the time frame was?
Yeah, and they're not paying for any of this, guys.
No.
Everything's paid for, like, the stage, the ring, the flights, the food, the hotels, the arena. Literally every bit of this is not a dime of it is coming out of WWE's pocket.
I saw people complaining or making comments about how they're giving tickets away, or tickets are like only $8, or some of the most expensive tickets are $50.
$8 over there is like $2,000 to them. Chill out, man.
That plus the fact that
not really. Their money's like way more.
I'm really under the impression that WWE is not selling these tickets. WWE is being paid to do this show. The Saudis are selling these tickets.
Yes.
So if they're giving stuff away, it's not because this isn't drawing. It's because they're giving these to dignitaries and kings and princes and all these rich people who they want there.
Did you see?
Not WWE by they, but by the Saudi who pay the money to get this over there.
Did you see the seats for like the ringside?
I want to sit in one.
They're like the chairs at really nice strip clubs. That was my first thought. I was like, holy shit, it looks like a really nice strip club. You know, a good one. I'm not talking about like the Foxhole down the road there in bumfuck Montana. I'm talking about like Hustler Club Baltimore, baby, where there's like 2 stories and shit, and everything like is fucking like smells good and is shiny, and you would like
the floor's not sticky.
Right, the floor's not sticky. It's got carpet and the carpet's clean. There's no burn holes and shit. It's crazy. So they're not ringside seats for like guys like you and me, man. These are ringside seats for people that go to very nice strip clubs and spend stacks. That's not us.
Yep, it's not. No.
For the record, I'm not really even a fan of strip clubs anymore at this juncture in my life. The last few times I've been there, I've been slightly disgusted with really, like, the people I was with. I was like, oh shit, man. Damn, dude, I thought you was like a solid husband and shit. You get titties rubbed in your face and lap dances all night. Yeah, what the? It really, like, makes you, like, view your friends differently. At an older age, you know what I mean? Like, we all had, like, wives and they've got kids. I don't. I've got a room full of cool shit.
You do.
It it really made me, like, take all my friends, like, into account that night. I was like, oh, y'all are disgusting sons of bitches. Holy shit. Anyway, so it isn't for just, like, regular people, man. They're having... Come check out this fucking WWE show I put on, guys. That's what is happening here.
Exactly. It's like someone else gets to pay for everything and Vince still gets to play with his toys. It's great.
If someone paid you to go somewhere and do your job for, like, way more money than you normally get paid to do it,
you'd probably do it.
And they're going to cover all the costs, expenses that it usually takes you to do your job. Like, whatever equipment you need for your job, they're going to just fucking pay for all of it. Brand new, here you go, come do it real fast, and then we're going to pay you to go home. And we're going to pay you way more. And your travel's going to be top notch, your hotel's going to be top. You do it, man, just shut up. But you can't bring your wife. Done.
Yeah.
My wife would be like, you best go make that money.
Right, and who knows, maybe in 5 years we're having a different conversation, it's a whole different thing, and that just looks fantastic on the part of WWE. Who knows? Time will tell.
Yeah, maybe in 5 years they aren't cutting heads off.
Right, exactly. So, as you can see, sometimes people say dumb things, and it's not the wrestlers or personalities, it's the fans reacting to stupid things that they just have no reason to have backlash over. This is not something dumb that someone said, Mike, but something I just noticed I want to throw in before we get into the meatier parts of this. Is No Way Jose the new Adam Rose?
Yes. Even before you sent me the call sheet for what we were talking about this week, I was watching Raw, and he came out with all these people, and I was like, this is Adam Rose. What are they doing?
It really is.
Didn't work before. You think when he showed up to Raw, they were like, hey, man, we're going to have you do a conga line out to the ring with all these jack-offs over here.
And they're going to stay out there while you
They're going to stay out there. Do you think he was like, oh, shit.
It's just Adam Rose, man.
Oh, they Adam Rose the fuck out of me on this one, man. Yeah.
He's like, well, I got 6 months tops.
You know what that means. Like, you know what that means. Like, as a fans, we know what that means. When he came out with that conga line, everyone was like, oh. But, like, he had to know. And good props to him. He came out there just singing,
he's smiling
clapping,
on his thing.
Smiling like his career isn't dead in the water before it starts.
And it is.
I was a star wherever I was from. Cuban, Puerto Rican.
I don't know.
Mexican.
Something.
He's something of Hispanic descent.
But anyway, let's move into this. Dumb things that people report. Bad reporting on dirt sheets. You pointed out part of it on our very own page, Nearfall Network, facebook.com/Nearfall Network. Cheap plug. Early reports were that Heyman was not going to Saudi Arabia simply because he didn't leave with the roster. Why would he leave with the roster? He's Brock Lesnar's right-hand man, and guess what? The report was then changed. Oh, no, wait, Heyman's going to be there. He just privately flew with Brock Lesnar. No shit.
Yeah.
So,
duh.
This is a prime example of why, guys like Meltzer, Wade Keller, some of these guys that write these dirt sheets, and I don't even know that any of that came from any of these guys. I'm just using them as an example. They sometimes get things right. They sometimes get things wrong. Meltzer likes to throw everything at the wall. But some of these other guys that report, you see different pages throwing stuff out there. They all report. I follow all these pages on Facebook. They report all the same thing. And then they always have to come back and retract when something's not right. It's never the pages themselves or getting it from another source. But here's the thing.
Sometimes
use your heads.
Copy and pasting right from that source.
Well, that's another page that we are no longer a part of.
Oh, somebody.
No, nobody said anything.
Copy and paste. No one said anything to you, dickbag.
Get in your cage.
Oh.
Anyway.
Wow.
So,
whatever.
Another thing that kind of got taken out of contest, and I even saw a dirt sheet kind of running with this, was PW Torch's Mike Johnson. It was reported that he said some shitty things about Sasha Banks' bad attitude, and that was stopping her push. I found the audio of it, and Ringside News is the one who did this. They're the ones that, like, after he reported, or was said to have reported this, he stated, and Mike, you shared it on our page, where he clearly said, I did not report this. This is not true. He then put it on his... Ringside News then put on, well, no, this is the story, and this is where he put it, where he said it, and he used audio from his show, which, did you hear the audio, Mike?
I did not.
Okay, I will play it, probably in post, because I don't have the technology to do that right off the top of my hands. But in audio, it sounds way different. Here we go, hold on.
For a moment in time, it seemed like Sasha Banks was the top wrestler in the women's division, but it seemed like she's barely in the top 5 lately. What happened? Has her work diminished, in your opinion? Is there an attitude problem that's stiffing her? Or has the rest of the division eclipsed her at the moment? There certainly have been stories about her with her attitude, and she and I talked about that WrestleMania week, and she kind of blew it off in some ways, saying that, you know, not that she has an attitude with the fans, or, you know, but it's sort of an attitude of if you are bothering her in a place where she has not made it publicly known that she's going to be there, then you are out of line. You know, I think Sasha is one of the top talents in the world. There are some weeks where I feel she's the best wrestler in the world, and there are some weeks where I feel like she probably is going to have a short career because she's going to hurt herself, and she's going to do a lot of damage to her body because she's so reckless in the ring. I would probably put her as one of my top two or three favorite performers in the company right now, and I don't think there's any one reason as to why the shine on her has kind of gone away. There's probably a plethora of reasons, including some of the factors that you mentioned in your questions, but it's not just one thing. I think it's a number of things. So whether she eventually gets that sort of unrestricted, focused upon push again remains to be seen, but I don't think she's really diminished in terms of her work in the ring. I think they just haven't focused upon her as much as they were in the early days, where it was her, Charlotte, and Becky, and Paige, and others who were in the women's division.
Okay, so you can tell the audio clip, he's not really saying what they're saying. They're saying that he's saying Sasha has a bad attitude. They take these quotes and they kind of shorten them up, and they make it sound like he's saying the reason she's not getting a push is a bad attitude. He clearly didn't say this. At first I thought, he did say it, but no. When you listen to the audio and text are two different formats. They don't come across the same at all. But this just goes to what we say all the time. You can't just rely on a dirt sheet and think it's gospel.
Doesn't dirt sheet sound like another like slang for toilet paper?
It does. It really does.
So, guys, dirt sheets are hit or miss, right? They throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
Yep.
You have to quit taking these people's word, and don't be like, well, he was right about this. Well, of course he was, man. He also predicted 3 other things to happen with that same prediction. Like, they're always right about something. And they always want to throw up the time they're right. And the fans always want to throw up the time they're right. But they're wrong all the time, too, people. Like, Michael Jordan missed just as many game-winning shots as he made. He missed way more of them, as a matter of fact.
Yep.
And that's kind of how it works for dirt sheet writers, guys. You can't. And even, that's the other thing, like you said, like, audio is so much different than text, man. It's so easy to take. Like, you could take so many different clips of things that I personally say on this show alone, out of context.
Right.
Like, Daniel Bryan is the 9/11 of WrestleMania 34. It's a joke, right? But out of context, that shit sounds terrible. It sounded terrible the first time I said it.
In context, it kind of sounds terrible, to be fair.
It's funny. But out of context, like when it first came out of my mouth, it sounded horrible. But after I explained it, it was less horrible. It's still pretty awful.
It's pretty bad.
Quit laughing every time I say it. I'll quit saying it. So there's things that you could say that out of context. This is just like the problem we have with. I'm not gonna like be like a social media problem. It's like a basic technology problem, man. I can't send text messages to people without them being like, "Well, fuck you, man." I was like, "No, it was a joke." Oh, okay. Tone of voice is a big thing that we miss on the internet. So, man, just chill out. The dirt sheet writers, they're wrong all the time. They're right rarely.
And if they say they didn't report something, they know there's enough evidence of what they have and haven't reported,
thing,
so
man.
they probably didn't report it that way.
We're basically
and you're
a dirt
probably
sheet.
Twisting stuff.
We're basically a dirt sheet slash podcast.
We don't report stuff.
Well,
we're
no, what
opinion.
I'm saying is
we're
like
an opinion piece.
We're opinion piece. Fan site slash opinion piece.
Right.
We're about the fandom and more like opinions.
And when we do report on stuff on our page, it's usually via WWE.com.
Yes, and what I'm saying is when we say something, we know what we said, man.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
when I say something on here, later on, I stick with, like I know I've said it. It's
right.
out loud. There's a podcast. I've said it. I know
there.
It's
There's a
there.
record of it.
There's a
You know
record
how you
of
meant
it.
it.
I
You know how you
remember
said. You can
what
go
I
back
said.
and listen.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's there.
Yep.
So, man, like everyone's cognizant of that too. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You're cognizant of that. Oh, okay. You know what you've said, and especially if I would assume everyone listens to their stuff back. I would assume, unless you do so much that you can't.
Right.
But I would assume everyone to a certain degree listens to their own shit. I knew musicians, and they essentially only listen to their music.
Right.
You know what you said, man.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, let's move on, Mike. Let's move on into the meat of this. And last week, you got to go fire on Billy Graham. You read word for word what he wrote. I'm going to do a similar thing this week, and I want you to interject when you can. This is, and I give credit, this is pod recaps from Ringside News. This is our buddy, Bro. This is Vince Bro Russo, Bro.
Bro. There was a time, bro, where WCW had beat us for 62 weeks straight, and I looked at Vince and I said, bro, you just got to keep the course, bro. And that's the problem, because WCW, when I went there, bro, they wouldn't let me keep the course, bro.
So, you already know where we're going with this. Russo made mention on his show that Raw should be 1 hour. And while I'm good for Raw to be 2 hours, 1 hour is kind of silly. There are some points he makes, and I'll give him credit, but let's just go. I'm going to read this recap word for word, and I'll interject some of my thoughts in here. So Russo opens up the show by mentioning that he was part of Rocky Mountain Pro Wrestling television taping over the weekend, and he thought it was great. He noticed that there were a bunch of kids on the roster who'd never been on television before, had no experience working for a hard camera, and under those circumstances, this taping was as good as it could have been. I right there, I'm like, well, he's already covering his ass if people see this and they think that this taping sucked. He's just blaming the talent, throwing them under the bus because it surely wasn't his fault.
You know what I thought? Good for those kids getting their first TV exposure.
Right, exactly. So,
but you're right, he threw him under the bus.
He sure did. So, I'll continue. One thing he realized during those tapings is that WWE's television model has been broken for a long time. He thinks they need to shut down, adjust, and start over. Shut down? Yeah, let's just stop what we've been doing for Monday nights for 20... Come on. I'm not even gonna.
Yeah, remember that longest running episodic TV series on cable? Yeah, man, fuck that noise. We're gonna go ahead, just close down.
Reboot.
Yeah, we're gonna completely retool the whole thing, top to bottom. We're gonna come up with a whole new way to operate, a whole new scheme. Show's gonna be an hour. So after that 6 months lost revenue, instead of making it up at the rate we normally do, we're gonna drop the show down to an hour and get a third of the revenue. Yeah,
makes sense, right?
That's fucking
all
brilliant.
Makes sense. So, Russo goes on. He believes that if your wrestling show is 1 hour long, it's very difficult to make a bad show. Because after commercials, you have 45 minutes of television time, and that's a perfect amount of time for today's viewers who have no attention span.
Can I interject?
Yeah, because I got one ready right here. Okay. Go for it.
I do this thing occasionally for us when I have time, called the Monday Night Wars. And on Thursday, I talk about Raw, and on Friday, I talk about Nitro. And at this juncture, in both shows, they're both still an hour. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, I have watched a lot of shitty hour episodes of wrestling over the tenure of doing this over, like, the last, like, how long have I been doing this now? Like, 2 years? I've been, like, watching old Raw. Something like 2 years. I've been watching old Raw, and, like, a year now I've been watching old Nitros. This shit sucks, man. A lot of this shit, like, go back and watch 1994 Raw. It's an hour long. It's terrible. Go back and watch any episode of Nitro from 1995 up to Bash the Beach 96. They're terrible. It's pretty easy to make a terrible hour of wrestling.
Right.
Proceed.
Okay, well, I just have here... So, Russo is comparing WWE television to Rocky Mountain Pro in this junction, the way that he's kind of describing this. So, I've never heard of Rocky Mountain Pro. I'm not sure if you have, but let's just take a worldwide brand.
I've heard of it because I've listened to his podcast before.
Okay, so let's just take a worldwide brand and compare it to Rocky Mountain Man Backwoods Wrestling, and then say that it's impossible. This guy literally said it's impossible to make bad TV that's an hour long. Didn't this asshole work for TNA?
Yes.
He must not have watched it.
He worked for WCW in 2000.
He must not have watched it because that show is consistently a bad hour of television.
WCW in 2000.
And
this motherfucker buried Ric Flair in the desert, y'all. This is the dude that buried Ric Flair in the desert.
Making something an hour doesn't automatically make it better. So, anyway, the recap continues. He doesn't think it's possible to produce a bad hour wrestling program, no matter what talent you're using. Again, I want to refer to TNA, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode. I'll stop there. All stars in the current WWE product, all part of bad television that was TNA, that was an hour long. I mean, do we have any arguments there? And Mike now has a panda mask on, and I'm not even joking. This is what I deal with on a weekly basis. So,
doesn't this look like a serial murderer mask?
It looks like something from a Stranger's. With the dead eyes? It's actually pretty terrifying.
I actually wore this. I saw my neighbor pulled in one night. He usually sits in his car and chain smokes cigarettes and talks on the phone for like an hour when he gets home in his driveway. And I've been waiting on him. And I saw him pull in. And
it's like he's reporting a podcast.
I had on black sweats and a black hoodie, and I jumped the fence and ran around.
Lord.
So it was like I was coming from the other side of the yard, and I started walking through the yard. And but I was like looking from the side of the mask. You can't really see my eyes in the mask, so I'm looking, and I noticed that he notices me. And when he notices me, I stop walking. And I stop and I turn towards him. And he says, to whoever he's on the phone with, he says, "Hey man, I gotta go. I think someone's in my backyard." It was his girlfriend. She said it was the scariest way someone had ever ended a phone call with her ever before. And
that's
so
just evil.
He goes, "Hello," and I did that Michael Myers thing. Where you just
cocked your head.
Cock the head to the side, and he goes, "Hello," And he goes, can I help you, buddy? And he starts rolling the windows up, and he starts backing out. And in my mind, I'm like, this pussy. I knew it. I knew when fight or flight kicked in, it was going to be flight. So I start, like, walking fast towards him. And he puts it in drive and starts coming at me. And I had to rip the mask off and be like, whoa, man, whoa. And I wish I wouldn't have. I wish I had just ran and done this, like, every other week to him for, like, a year.
Yeah, until he called the cops.
Until he shot me.
Or shot you. Either way. So,
okay,
anyway, if you guys had the visual I had, this would be way funnier. Anyway, so Russo's recap continues. USA Network is selling advertisement and wants the programming to be longer. But that's just greedy in Russo's opinion. He thinks that if the show was an hour long, more people would watch it, and they'd be able to charge more for that hour of advertising. So USA is greedy by selling advertising for a show, or is he saying that WWE is greedy by not bucking USA and fighting the 3 hours that they have contractually agreed on? I mean, we've heard multiple sources in WWE say that they prefer to be 2 hours, but they can't because that's not what they signed up for. Like, to me, this is Russo just splitting hairs. What do you want them to do? They're signed for a 3-hour show. And you're saying it's greedy, but then you're saying, well, they can charge more for advertising in an hour rather than spreading it across 3 hours. Like, none of that, your math doesn't add up there, Vince.
Nothing will ever be as good as when I was there in charge from 1997, bro, to 1999 when I left that company because I was very bored, bro. What was there left to do? I had conquered the world. I was king of the mountain. Look at me, ma, top of the world. The Yankees had just won the playoffs. It was a good day. I decided to leave, bro. So from there to there, no times would ever better than that, bro, and it never will be. WCW when I was there could have been better, bro, if they'd have just let me do my thing. It would have been even better television, bro, because they had the budget to pull it off, bro. I was burying Ric Flair in the desert, bro, to bring him back and make him stronger, bro. He was gonna come back from the dead, and he was gonna fight the mafia, just like in Casino. It was gonna be wild, bro. It was gonna be wild, but they just didn't see my plan, bro. That's the type of shit we're on. That's what he says every time he talks.
That's what it is. Well, he goes on to say that he understands that it's a business and that USA Network has to make money, but he's sure a 1 hour program will draw more viewers. He points out that cutting it from 3 hours to 2 hours won't change anything because WWE can't write 3 hours of programming, so they can't write 2 hours either. It needs to be a 1 hour show in order for things to change. So if you're saying, well, first let me say what Vince really meant when he said this. What he said was, bro, WWE can't write 3 hours of TV, bro, so they certainly can't write 2 hours, bro, because I'm not there, bro. They can't even write 1 hour, bro, but I could write like 5, 6, 7 hour weekly wrestling shows, bro, and it would be solid gold, bro. I poop solid gold. That's what he said. That's what he really said. Because if you're saying they can't write 3 hours, they can't write 2 hours, what leads you to think they can write 1 hour if you're saying they can't write 2 or 3?
I just don't get his logic because that's not how things work, right? You know? It's like they can't write 2 hours, so they certainly can't write 3.
Right. Yeah.
It's like well, they can't write 3 hours, but they might be able to write 2. I could see a good 2 hours.
But maybe 1. Yeah, 1 for sure.
Like what an ass clown thing to say, man. It doesn't even... It's so dumb. So dumb.
He goes
it's not even how numbers work.
Right, it's not. So he goes on, out of 3 hours of Raw, Russo suspects there's 42 minutes of important programming, important matches and segments that they need to get on the show.
That's
now, here's
valid,
where I say
That's
he's
valid,
probably, he's probably close. I say it's probably more of like an hour 15 minutes of important things they got to get on TV. That's fair. It's probably the way that it really does break down. So I can't fault him on that one. But he goes on to say the rest is just filler. That's why they lose people when he thinks WWE needs to cut the filler programming. Again, they're contracted for 3 hours. So shows, yes, they have fillers. I mean, even serial shows like, The Walking Dead, they have standalone episodes that you don't necessarily need to watch. You can still get the meat of the story because that stuff doesn't even play into it. But they have a number of episodes that they have to do per season, and sometimes to draw the story out, you get filler. It's the same way with a 3-hour wrestling show that runs every week. So, Russo informs that he's been watching NXT lately, and that the show is bearable because it's only an hour. The show's bearable because it's only an hour. So, NXT is bearable. Who the fuck does this guy think he is? NXT is way more than bearable. It's quite possibly the best product that WWE puts on a weekly basis. Amazing. It's amazing. It's not bearable. It's great. It's great wrestling television. And it's also a product that as a fan, me, you, and everyone else cannot watch on a weekly basis and then still leading up to takeovers be excited because of the matches you see, because of the way they build these 3-hour wrestling takeover specials, because of writing and character development, not because of it being an hour.
All the shit that he... Okay. True story, I used to watch Vince Russo, or listen to Vince Russo's podcast. I don't know why. I guess I like to hear things... Occasionally this guy talks about things I want to hear about, right? And
right.
I'm interested in everyone's perspective, okay? And I started listening to him because he was on Austin's podcast, and he mentioned he had his own, and I was like, alright, he was pretty good on Austin's. He's good as a guest on other people's show because he's reined in.
Right.
And so it was cool listening to him on Austin, so I started listening to him. And he's got, like, interesting thoughts and opinions on things, but then he says shit like this, man. And it's like, he says shit like Kevin Owens isn't a star. He talks bad about the roster, so I just had to quit. But, like, everything that I noticed that he wanted in a wrestling show was NXT, man. The things that he wants, character-driven stories, good in-ring work. The shit he just talked about. NXT is all this, man, and it's just bearable.
Yeah.
Dude!
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yep.
You discredit everything by just saying it's bearable. This is worldwide... Internet fan, casual fan recognized alike that this is a very excellent wrestling program.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, he says, even though there's not... this is still talking NXT here, Mike. Even though there's not enough storytelling or vignettes for his liking, he's able to sit through a wrestling-heavy show because it's only an hour in length. So he essentially said... he prefers filler, right? Because vignettes and storytelling can sometimes be considered filler, especially if you want in-ring product. But he wants more video packages to make it more interesting.
No, he doesn't want more video packages. Well, he doesn't want more video packages. I'll tell you what Vince Russo likes, man. Vince Russo doesn't really care about wrestling.
No, he doesn't.
Vince Russo is a storyteller.
Right.
And Vince Russo is the type of dude that if... he could only watch Raw in an hour and had to fast forward through it on DVR. He watches literally none of the wrestling.
Right.
Vince Russo's a storyteller. He's a writer.
Right. Yep.
And I'll give him that. NXT doesn't probably have as many promos. That's probably what he's really looking for. Promos and some kind of character-driven, like, elements. Contract signings. Blah, blah, blah. Someone's mom on a pole.
Judy Bagwell on a pole. Yeah. So he goes on to say, if WWE were to put NXT's product on USA for an hour before Raw, then he thinks NXT would match a 2-hour Raw in the terms of ratings. And I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty easy statement to make because typically the first hour is your most highest rated. It's on at 8. It's on earlier. So you're a genius, Russo. Let's put NXT on from 8 to 9, and then Raw on from 9 to 11, and see how the ratings stack up, because they're probably going to be pretty even from 8 to 10. You're right. Like, that's a pretty easy thing to say. You're not breaking any ground by putting this crazy thought out there. Like, he's a moron. His host, Vito, agrees, and noting that if NXT would add a few more vignettes and storylines, NXT would be able to sustain itself on a standalone program on USA Network. So again, NXT needs to add more vignettes, according to these guys, to even make the current hour they have If they added more vignettes, they wouldn't even have wrestling. Let's be honest. Let's not fix what's not broke, okay? These guys are basically, like you said, they're talking about how wrestling's not that important. Let's just tell stories. Bottom line is Russo now is just being Russo, and he's literally attacking not only Raw and WWE, but now NXT. That's like attacking late 90s ECW. That's just something you don't do. Late 90s ECW had a feeling and a vibe that NXT has because these guys were doing the same thing. They were... I hate to break your heart, ECW people, but they weren't getting paid very much, and they wanted to make it to one of the two big shows. That is why ECW felt the way that it felt, because every guy on that roster was doing everything they could to get noticed by WCW or WWF. That's what NXT is now. Every guy on that roster wants to get noticed by the upper-ups in the big house in Vince's playroom where he keeps all his toys, because that's where they want to go to get that bigger money contract. And that is part of the reason that NXT is so well. It's also run by Triple H. I think the writing is better. I think the storytelling in the ring is better. And that's why it has the following it has. That's why it can put on shows that it puts on like it does now. It has nothing to do with the time of the show. That being said, an hour show, you get less people on it. We talked about this earlier. You know, not everybody can be on every show on NXT, and that is something that Raw suffers from. The fact that Roman's on every show, he gets booed every week. The fact that Brock's there once a month, he gets cheered. Because he's something to see when he shows up.
Perfectly said. I don't have anything to add to that other than, do you think if Roman only showed up a couple times a month, he'd get cheered?
No, he'd still get booed. I'd cheer for him.
I'd cheer.
I'd be like, yay, Roman!
Yeah, I'm like, hey, he's back!
Yeah.
Cool, man, yeah!
The big dog's back from the past!
Yeah, fuck you guys if you don't like it. You guys are just haters. I like the Shield.
But, yeah, I have a Shield t-shirt, Mike. But anyway, bottom line, Russo is who Russo is, and nothing that he doesn't have a part of is any good in his opinion. And it's just one more person who says dumb things.
It's just a fact, bro. It'll never be better than 97 through 99, bro. It's just a fact. Everybody on the card had something to do. I made Jesse James the Intercontinental Champion, bro. Who would have ever thought that Jesse James would be an Intercontinental? I'm talking about Brian Armstrong, bro. I made Jeff Jarrett World Champion in WCW, bro.
Oh, well, man, I think we've hit about everything we can hit. I got nothing else. If you got nothing else for these fine people, we've kept them and each other online for way too long. Let's wrap this up. You got anything else you want to say?
I will be performing at Stephanie's Steakhouse and Mail Review Wednesday, May 11th, I think it is, in Toledo, Ohio. So, there's that.
And I have to work.
Yeah, it's too bad, man. You're gonna miss out. You're gonna miss out.
What kind of performance is this going on, Mike?
It's a solo acoustic show, but you know, it's a male review, so my penis will be on display. I'm gonna do a full spread as well. I'm gonna spread eagle the butt cheeks.
Spread eagle guitar playing at its finest.
Spread eagle the butt cheeks.
I'm assuming you'll be sitting on a stool. You'll be sitting on a stool to elevate the attraction, right? Get everyone a good shot.
I don't call it so much sitting on a stool as sitting in a stool. It's weird. You'll figure it out once you get there.
Hang tight, guys. It's going to get interesting. All right, everyone. Well, I say it every week. It's been real. It's been fun. We will catch you next time.
You guys are beautiful. We love you. Have a great week.